Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you guys are doing really well. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be building my first sort of Japanese themed home to go along with the Sakura DLC, and I am so incredibly excited to share this one with you guys. I'm in love with it, which shocker, I don't say that about all my builds, but this one, honestly, I'm so pleased with it. And for the first build to go with like the new themed DLC, I'm so happy with it. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Leave a like, leave comments, let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you guys have been building with the new Sakura stuff. If you have the DLC, are you enjoying it, all that kind of stuff. I'd really like to know. So yeah, this is my first sort of Japanese themed build to go along with the DLC. So as you might be able to tell at the beginning part with like the build screen shots and stuff like that, how I like to do the builds, because they take me a while to figure out. If you've been here for a while, then you know that. But you might be able to tell that obviously we're in the forest to begin with, and I've also used the glass wall pieces as the windows, and I've used different windows and doors and stuff like that. There's not really anything in the way of actual like Sakura DLC items in the game until I get in and I sort of like take you on a little empty house tour, and then I start to build. As I mentioned, I'm pretty sure it was in my showing off all of their items and stuff, I did make a few different shells when the Sakura DLC was announced. I was so excited, so I wanted to get a little bit prepared and make a few shells, and this was the first one that I made, so like mocked up and stuff like that. The living room is based off of a image that I saw, and that was like the whole inspiration for this build, but I will show you that closer to like chatting about the living room specifically, because then it'll make more sense. But that was like the inspiration for the whole build really. But yeah, I'm super happy with how this one turned out, and I just love it. It's very, I think it has a nice balance between like quite traditional Japanese style colors and just like the layout, and then also there are parts of it that are also kind of like modern and stuff. So I think it's a really nice mix between the two, and I would absolutely love to jump in and live here. I'm so like just standing at the front of the house and looking at it, I couldn't be more happy, honestly. I was so happy with how it turned out, and I was staring at it for ages, which sounds so stupid. But I've been using as well the cameras in the game to take better screenshots and stuff, because the game actually does take better ones than Steam does. For the longest time I've been using Steam, but I've been messing around with the actual like in-game cameras lately, and they do take better shots and stuff, and so I've been messing around with those. So now a lot of my builds are just like, if you go into like the camera tool, there's cameras literally everywhere just to try and get like different shots and stuff. But yeah, we are here building my first sort of Japanese inspired build. I really hope that you enjoy it. So yeah, sorry, I got off on a little ramble there to begin with, but we're starting off the build. As I said, like I like to go in and do like a little empty tour. I did, as soon as I wanted to like start getting cracking with this build, I did put it into the new zone, and I think I chose the middle plot or the very end plot, I can't remember. I think I ended up choosing the right side plot, so the one that was closer to the building with the torii gates. I chose that side rather than Mount Fuji side. But you can still see Mount Fuji, so that's good. But yeah, I chose that end for this one as I thought that it looked really nice, because to the right hand side of the property, when you're looking at it, the plot next door has a lot of they have a lot of the bamboo trees, like the really thick ones, and I thought that it looked really nice because it kind of went along with this build like at the same time, so that was cool. I didn't actually end up using the whole plot of this, it was a little bit bigger, because where I had built the shell before the DLC had come out, I didn't realize that it was just going to be one sort of like map for the Sakura DLC, and then that map was going to have like 3 different segments to it. I like that. I think that that's really cool that you can move it around, but I thought it was going to be a couple of different maps. So I was waiting to see, and I had my fingers and toes crossed that I could just like pick this house up and move it to the new zone, because you can do that in Sandbox Mode. You can move the house to different zones, whether it's the like suburban zone, the downtown one, the snowy suburbs, all that kind of stuff, or like the forest, which we know is like my favorite. But honestly, I think this map here is gonna be a new favorite contender for me. So as soon as the DLC come out, I went back in and changed the zone, everything like that, and then changing the windows and doors to the shoji doors and everything like that. And I really love how they turned out. The doors and stuff specifically would take me a little bit of time to get used to with the those new items with the DLC, just trying to line them up and use ones that I was happy with. They took me a little bit of time to get used to. I think I've got it down a little bit now, but yeah, they were taking me a little bit of time to kind of like get them right and then get them lined up and everything like that. But yeah, overall just really happy with how this build turns out, and so many of the new items I'm so happy with. But yeah, so we're starting off this build in the Genkan area, where we like take off our shoes and all that kind of stuff. I have used the kitchen cupboards again to create sort of like a shoe storage section. I've done that a few times in different builds. I don't know why, I just feel like it looks quite nice, and especially if you want like a sort of slim like shoe storage potential, then I think that they work, and they give like the general idea of that being, you know, a place where you would store your shoes and stuff. So I've done that, and then I've also added a couple of shelves to the entrance. I also like to do that in builds because I think it's a nice place to put down like your car keys, house keys, maybe like post, letters, newspaper, all that kind of stuff. So that's in the entrance. I obviously the shoe cabinets, or the like kitchen cupboards, I'm pretending that they're like shoe storage, but I also did want to put some shoes out on the floor as well to give like, you know, the general idea. Maybe they've got a lot, maybe these are their most used shoes, all that kind of stuff. And then so one side is like shoe storage, and then the other side I end up putting up some hooks and stuff for some coats, along with a couple of different mirrors. And then it does seem kind of pretty like open to begin with, but later on I do go in and I sort of block it off a little bit. It's not super blocked off of like doors or anything, but I do build a little bit of a wall where the coats and that are, to sort of really separate that sort of entrance to the house to the walkway where you can go to like the kitchen or the living room, stuff like that. And then I put another window in, and so like you can still see out. You guys will see it as the video goes on. I don't think I'm explaining it very well, but yeah, so that is the entrance to the house. I really like how it turned out, and the flooring that I used in the same in the like main section of the house, it's one of the new wood textures, and I really like it. I really like that one. I can't remember what the name of it is at the moment, because I like am really bad with remembering the names, so I'm sorry, but it's one of the new ones, and I really like how it turned out, as well as the other two sort of like concrete style what are they called, like textures that they've added to the game, so like a brushed concrete, or the other one which I think was limestone. Don't quote me on it again, because I'm really bad with remembering the names. I'm just like, oh, I like that and I'll use it a lot, and I like won't soak in what it's actually called. So I'm sorry, that's a me problem. But yeah, those 3 new so like swatches or textures and stuff are really nice. I've used them a lot throughout the whole house, and I think that they're pretty perfect for it. So like I've been doing as well, I've been choosing a lot of the colors a little bit sort of off camera or like after the matter, because honestly it can take me such a long time to choose the colors. I'm always like changing it, and then I'll have the color for something else, and then I'll go back and I'll be like, okay, but I don't really like that color. So lately I've been choosing some of the colors, and then sometimes I'll have like walls up where I have different textures or wallpapers and stuff like that I would like to use in a build, so it's easier for me to just go back, grab them, and then like start painting and stuff. But other times I'm not entirely sure, so I can change an item a few different times. So I've started to cut that out, just to cut the videos down a little bit, but also like, you know, it's more actual stuff going on rather than me being in the color menu for like 20 minutes at a time, because that has happened and it's not fun. It's not fun. I love the color choices, I really do, but I'm so indecisive with the colors, and I think it can sometimes be a bad thing. So once I've finished with the entrance area, I do a tiny little bit to the walkway between like the living room and the kitchen. I just put some of the like storage cupboards in, and a really big mirror. I love those big circle mirrors that come out with the Sakura DLC, and they're gonna get used so much in my builds. I do wish there was a little bit of a smaller one, but we do have other like circle smaller mirrors, so I'm not mad at it or anything, but those ones are really nice, and I think that it also looks really nice just like in the corridor leading to the kitchen. So I put those down, and then I get straight on with trying to do the kitchen. So when I mocked up this house, sometimes when I mock up houses I like to use dummy furniture. Sometimes in my builds you might see the dummy furniture sort of like still in the rooms as I'm like going around and stuff like that. They're not always the furniture pieces that I want to like use for definite. They're just like pieces, like I'll just grab a random sofa and I'll be like, okay, well the sofa could go here, blah blah blah. You guys know a lot of the time I really do like to use the corner sofa pieces. So they're always like my go-tos, but just for like dummy furniture and stuff like that I'll use whatever sofa and kitchen cabinets and all that kind of stuff, just to get a general idea. And I did that with this build, and I knew how I wanted the kitchen laid out. So I wanted the back wall to be sort of like counter space with the fridge, and then I wanted an island. Of course I wanted an island in front of that, and I wanted to makeshift a breakfast bar. I didn't want to use the sort of like, you know, you can change the cabinets to have this sort of like overhanging breakfast bar section. I didn't want to use those bits. I wanted to fully sort of like make my own, because I wanted it to look like a concrete section that was attached to the counters. Hopefully this makes sense, and I really wish, I think that this is something that I would love added to the game, with the countertops, with the like kitchen countertops and stuff like that. You can't have the concrete as a texture. It's always like the you know, like the marble or just like the granite or the wood, stuff like that, but you can't have like a concrete texture, which really bugs me, because sometimes in builds I would really like to have like a concrete countertop, and that's what I wanted with this build. So I kind of like, I makeshifted that, and I done that for the breakfast bar in this build. I just really like the way that it looks, and it blends with the walls and stuff like that around the house as well, because I've gone for a lot of sort of raw concrete and like textured looks. So I really wanted the breakfast bar to also be concrete. I really wish that we could change the countertops to be some raw materials instead, because obviously like they're there, so it wouldn't be impossible, but it's just a shame that we only have these sort of like smoother or wood textures to choose from for like countertops. So yeah, I made my own. I also, a little sidetrack, I do have another build coming after this one, which was actually pretty much finished before the Sakura DLC come out, but I pushed it back because I wanted to do the Sakura DLC stuff, and also I've done a House of a Remastered video which come out before this one, and I wasn't expecting to do that video, so yeah, unfortunately the video after this one, I do go in and I've put in some of the Sakura items, but pretty much that build was finished before the Sakura DLC even come out, and but I just didn't want to like rush post it, so yeah, that's going to be like a little bit back in time. But that build is also, I'm really happy with how that one turned out. But anyway, the reason I'm going on this tangent is that build there, because of the theme of it, I really wanted a full-on sort of like concrete kitchen, so concrete like countertops, and I went through painstakingly using the windowsill piece, and I changed all of the countertops to be concrete in that build, which you guys will see next. So I got this idea from that build that I had done, which you guys haven't seen yet. Am I making any sense? I'm so sorry if I'm not. I feel like I'm confusing myself a little bit, but I know what I'm on about. You guys will see it, but yeah, that's sort of like where I got the idea for having just the one section in this build be like concrete. I didn't want to concrete the back counters as well. I just wanted mainly the sort of like breakfast bar area to be the concrete, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And then yeah, and I go in and I put in some little decoration pieces in the kitchen. I love all the like little knickknacks. You guys know I'm so like, I said in my remastered video that I did, I'm a screenshot fiend, but I'm also a knickknack fiend. Like, I don't like things to look like too cluttered, like, you know, it's a huge hoarder place, but I really like to make places look sort of lived in, like somebody's just like eating their breakfast, or they've like gone into the living room and they've like had a drink and they've left the cup there, and then they've got, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's like weird, but all the little like decorative pieces and stuff like that that come out with the Sakura DLC, like the food, the sushi, the dango, the stuff like that, the rice in the bowls, the bento boxes, the rice cooker, all that kind of stuff. I really love it. And the chopsticks are so cute, and then the chopstick like holders, oh, they're so sweet. I love them so much. Of course the cherry blossom one is my absolute favorite one, but yeah, so many of the little like decorative pieces that come out, I wanted to use as many of them as possible in this sort of like first build. I'll use them a lot in builds going forward, but for this one specifically, obviously the overall theme for it, I wanted it to be very sort of traditional Japanese, but also have modern elements, and I think there's a nice balance between the two. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. So once I'm done with the kitchen, I move on to the sort of like living room area. There's no like sofa or anything in this build. I think that's where I wanted to try and go sort of like as traditional as possible. And the living room, I'll pop a little image on the screen. The living room was very much inspired by this image I saw on Pinterest, and I love how it turned out. Honestly, that image was the thing that inspired this whole build. Like, I started with the living room and then I just built off of it, and I'm really happy with how it turns out. And the living room, I used the tatami mats. It took me a little bit of like fiddling to get the pattern right that I kind of wanted, but I got there in the end, and it was like almost the perfect sort of like size floor, because I do go around and I do try to add the tatami mats to other sections of the house, but they're not the right size, if that makes sense, because the tatami mats that we have, they only come in 3 different sizes. So when I was placing them in the living room, they worked out pretty much perfectly, but I do go and try and like place them in the bedroom, and then there's like a little extension sort of like tea room that I try to place them in, and they just don't work. They don't fit in there at all, which was a shame, but I'm really happy that they fit in the living room like pretty perfectly with no gaps. So yeah, I feel like it has to be like a very specific size of room, just because there's 3 sizes. There's like the rectangle, a small square, and then a bigger square. And for the other rooms that I was trying it with, I couldn't get them to fit, but I'm happy that I got them in part of this build anyway, which was, I think, the most important part, which is the living room. And as I shared, like, the image was the biggest inspiration for this living room, and I think it turned out really well with the like bookcases going across all of the walls with tons of books. Honestly, the books took me the longest time. Something in the like checking out all of the Sakura DLC items video that I didn't check is there are actually different covers now to some of the books in the game, which I didn't think to check that. Also, some of like the drinks bottles and stuff like that also have different labels and stuff to them. So those are a couple of things that I found when I was doing this build that I had missed when I was doing the whole like taking a look at all of the Sakura DLC items. So I'm really pleased with the new book covers and stuff. They look really cool, so I use those a lot in this specific section and just like this house overall, and as well as the stacked books, like the Japanese specific themed stacked books. I use tons of those in the living room section of this build because they're just easier to place down rather than making my own stacks. I do make some of my own stacked books just to give it a little bit of like difference, so it's not just the same book stacked over and over again, and I'm really happy with how it turns out. But those stacked books come in very handy. And then other things that I put in the shelves are just like little decorative bits. So I put in some plants, I put in some figurines, some statues, some vases, and just like different things like that to, you know, fill in different areas of the bookshelf, so it's not literally just purely books. It just turns out looking really nice, I think. And then I do put in some plants. I was a little bit sad because I couldn't put in a bonsai tree in like on the shelves. They were all a little bit too big, which is, I think they would have been really nice if we had some smaller ones, but I'm so happy with like the ones that we have. I love them, along with the cherry blossom trees. But yeah, I was really kind of wanted one on the shelves, but they were a little bit too big, so I didn't end up putting any of the bonsai trees on the shelves. But I do put in some of the new plants and like a fan and stuff like that. Of course, I used the new, or one of the new tables, and then I used the cushions that we actually already had in the game, the thicker resizable ones. I used those for the seats around the like little table, and I put like a little tea set down, which I do have like a sort of like tea specific room, but I thought that it would also fit like the living room. And one thing that I've done with this, that I always normally have like a TV in a build and stuff, but this one I have not put a TV in it. There is a little office area, which is probably, I don't know, the most modern section of the build, I would say, but yeah, that's the only place in the build that has a sort of like a screen or something that could resemble like a TV where you could watch stuff and everything like that. I just loved how this living room looked like without a TV, and it just seems so like peaceful. So yeah, I didn't want to put a TV in the living room, but as I said, I do put a lot of like little decorative bits, some paintings and everything like that. I had a little binge on Pinterest. If anyone's ever interested in like where I get the custom images from, honestly, a lot of them are from Pinterest. Yeah, they're like pretty much all from Pinterest. I use that even in the original House Flipper. That would be my sort of like go-to place to get some images for the houses and stuff like that to go along with like the themes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Pinterest is definitely where I get a lot of my photos from that I put up in game, like the posters or the framed photos and stuff like that. And I made a wall outside of this house with a bunch of different ones that I potentially wanted to use for this build, and then I would just like go out there, grab one and bring it on inside. So because I don't know if I have too many in game, but when I go into the custom image section, it takes a really long time to load them all. I have to keep like scrolling all the way down to the bottom, and it's a little bit annoying, so it takes me a little bit of time sometimes to get the photos that I want. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the living room turns out. And there's some scrolls. I think I mentioned putting in like a fan. There's little decorative boxes which were actually made with the assembly mode in story mode. So I've actually gone through and made all of the assemblies now. They're not necessarily like the thing that I like the most about House 52, but I didn't realize, it took me the longest time to realize that in order to get the items from the assemblies, you have to do the assemblies, which, you know, that makes sense, right? So now I've done all of the assembly pieces and I have all of the items from the assembly pieces, so I'll be using those in different builds. And these little decorative boxes that I use in the living room and other places around the house, those were part of the like assembly stuff. So as I mentioned, I absolutely love the cherry blossoms and the bonsai trees, everything like that. I don't know if I can put it into words how much I love them. I just think they are so beautiful. We used to have a cherry blossom tree, and very unfortunately, we had to get rid of it. Where it was just not, it was not good. But yeah, that was sad. It was such a beautiful tree, and it was sad to get rid of it. Anyway, yeah, I tried to put in some of those in the living room, but as I said, they wouldn't really fit. So I ended up using some of the other plants and stuff. And then once we are done with the living room, I move on to the bathroom section. Now, the bathroom section, I wanted it to be sort of like, you know, like traditional sort of like Japanese homes, they have the separate toilet to the like bathroom area. I wanted it to be like that, sort of like as accurate as possible, I guess, but again, like with some modern elements to it as well. So the bathroom, I wanted a little section for the bath and the shower, which was like a step down from where the bathroom like sink and stuff would be, and then there's a separate room which has the toilet and the washing machine in it. And I'm really happy with how the bathroom turns out. I wasn't too sure about like windows in the bathroom to begin with. I do end up making a sort of like skylight for the bathroom, which I think turns out quite nice, but it definitely wasn't something that I was initially intending to make. So I kind of did that on the fly, trying to make a skylight for the bathroom section, specifically where like the bath and the shower is. So yeah, that wasn't intended to be like that, but that's how it ended up being, and I think it turned out really nice. But it took me quite a while to figure out how to do that. Originally I was trying to use the like shoji doors or windows, sorry, and none of them were fitting, no matter which sort of like size of them I was using. None of them were fitting how I was liking, so I just ended up resorting to using the resizable glass wall because it's resizable, so it worked. It worked pretty well, you know. It gets the job done. So once that section of the bathroom is like sort of like done and I managed to eventually figure out the skylight, I moved the bath over a little bit and I put in a bonsai tree and some moss and some other plants in the sort of like dipped down section where the bath and the shower is. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's like a good idea. Maybe not, but I thought that it looked really nice, and yeah, I thought that it just looked really nice, so I wanted to keep it there. And it gives it also a little bit of a color because the bathroom is quite I don't know, like raw. I guess the bathroom's quite raw. I use like the concrete, which looks like concrete slabs. I don't know the specific name of it, shocker, but I use that for the bathroom walls, and it reminds me of that. I think it was a building in Tokyo, but I think it got torn down. It was like it looked like a bunch of squares just like added onto each other. It was a really cool like structure. I think it looked really awesome, but I think they took it down. Okay, I just looked it up and it's called the Nakajin Capsule Tower building. It was bugging me that I couldn't remember the name of it. So sorry. The first time I saw that was Abroad in Japan's video. If any of you have ever watched any of his videos, I highly recommend. But that was the first time that I saw this building when he was like touring it and stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's been taken down now. But it looks so cool, and the concrete in the bathroom, that's it reminds me of this building. It reminds me of this building, and I really like it. And that building was like so cool. So yeah, a little bit weird, but that's what the bathroom sort of like concrete that I used in there reminds me of. And yeah, I really like how the bathroom turns out. So like I'd like to do sometimes, I did also make like a full-on custom like sink section with some storage to begin with. I started off with one of the like chest of drawers, and then two of the blocks, which are like the calyx units. You could either have like drawers or cupboards in them, but I wasn't liking how that turned out, so in the end I actually just end up using two of the chest of drawers. And yeah, it took me a while to get it right. I don't know why it was taking me so long this time to get that right, but it took me a really long time to get that built. And then I use a basket as a sort of like a wash basket, sorry, rather than using one of the laundry baskets that's like already made. Sometimes I like to use the basket that you can resize because you can actually put wicker on it. It's one of the only items that I've really found in the game that can have like a wicker texture to it. So I use that, and I put like a lid on it and stuff, and I pretend that that's the washing basket in the bathroom. But yeah, the bathroom is pretty simple. And then once I'm done with like the main section of the bathroom, I move on to the toilet section. And the Japanese toilet that's in the game, I didn't realize, I noticed it while I was playing, but you can actually turn it on so it like sings to you. I know that that's a thing, like it sings so like people don't hear you doing your business and stuff, but I thought that that was really cool. That's something that I didn't actually notice when I was doing the showcase video as well. But yeah, that's in this build. And in that room, I think that room's actually probably a little bit big in this build for just like the toilet, the washing machine, and then I put a storage cupboard in there. I don't do too much to that little like toilet room. I do put a plant in there, put a window in there, a little shelf, and some decorative bits and stuff like that, obviously toilet paper and stuff. And it's got the washing machine, sorry, it's just like the washing machine, it's not like a dryer or anything. But yeah, I think that room's maybe a little bit big for what's in there, but it works, and I'm happy with how it turned out. It's probably the least decorated room in the whole house. Again, I use the like concrete style like wall texture for that room and stuff. But yeah, just a toilet room pretty much. I do in the sort of like main bathroom section, which you guys will see in the tour. I don't know, I mean it kind of looks a little bit out of place. When I was doing the tour, I was thinking that looks a little bit out of place, but in like Japan in apartments and stuff, I used to watch a lot of like Japanese apartment tours and stuff like that, and I still really do like to watch like house tours and stuff, like really luxury like house builds and stuff like that. Occasionally, I don't watch them as much as I used to, but they just used to be something that I was just like, I don't know, I guess nosy. I just used to like watching like house tours and stuff. But yeah, sorry, in like Japanese bathrooms sometimes they have these like like clothing rails that can come out of the wall or from the ceiling, and obviously like they can dry your clothes and stuff like that in the bathroom instead, because I think they have like vents and stuff, or like a sort of like extractor fan, so it like takes out all of the moisture and stuff. So like in the bathroom I put the clothes hanging thing on the wall, and I was imagining in my head that it doesn't work how it works in the game. It works like differently, which is why I left it flat. It does look a little bit out of place, but I was imagining, you know, you could pull that out and then you could hang your clothes and stuff like that in the bathroom. So yeah, that was something that I added to the bathroom. That was a last minute decision, but I think that it like fits as well with the theme and like Japanese homes and bathrooms and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really happy with how the bathroom turns out. It's actually quite simple when I'm done with it, but for some reason the bathroom was taking me quite a while to figure out. And then once I'm done with the bathroom, I move on to the bedroom. So this house only has the one bedroom. You could probably get rid of the office and that could be another bedroom instead of an office, but I only wanted the one bedroom for this one, and I love how the bedroom turns out in this build. I really do like it. So the way that the bedroom ends up being is I build like a little platform for the bed to go on. So the bed's on that platform along with two wardrobes, two like bedside cabinets and lights and stuff like that, and then you have the lower section of the bedroom which has a little table and a little sort of like stool and a bunch of calligraphy stuff, and it's got windows looking out onto the back garden section of the house, or like middle garden, I don't know, I feel like it would be like the back garden but I thought that was like really nice because again you got like the shoji doors, and or they're not doors, sorry, they're windows, and the middle one I made like glass, and then the other ones I kept with the sort of like paper in them. And I really like it because it's like they can sit there and they can do calligraphy and stuff like that while looking out into the garden at the big cherry blossom tree and the lake. Oh, it's not really a lake, so like pond area out there. I'm really happy with how the bedroom turns out. Sorry, it seems like a really calm area of the house as well. Throughout the whole house I've put like borders going around the different rooms to as well give off the sort of like traditional Japanese sort of like style of houses and stuff. And yeah, I'm really happy with how all of that turns out. I thought about trying to make them look a little bit 3D while by using the resizable square or like the corkboard piece, but I decided against it because I was really liking how it looked. The other thing that I have done with the doors with this build, I haven't used any of the new doors. I've used the doors that sort of like look like they're part of the wall, and I did that on purpose because I wanted it to look sort of like seamless. You can still see that it's a door because they are coloured very different to like the rest of the wall. I did contemplate making them the exact same colour as the wall, but I decided not to because I liked the wood colour that I used for them, which matches the sort of like trim of the walls as well. So yeah, I wanted the doors to be sort of like seamless but not completely invisible, so I used the ones that come out with, I think they come out with the Scooby-Doo DLC, the like secret door ones, and yeah, I really like how they look. And then once I'm done with the bedroom, I move on to the office area. So the office area is probably the most, I mean, it still has like traditional elements, but it's probably the most, I mean, the kitchen's also kind of modern, so I would say the kitchen and the office are probably the more modern looking sections of this build. Again, I tried to put in the tatami mats in the office, but it just wasn't working. For some reason, the living room like unintentionally worked like perfectly. That was like not a problem, but any other room that I tried to put the tatami mats in, it wasn't having it. The shape of the room just was not right. But the office, when we get to that section, you'll be able to see that I've already put like a desk and stuff in there, and that's because the desk was completely custom made and using the the windowsill pieces, some of the new so like sliding storage units from the Sakura DLC, as well as some resizable blocks. So it was a little bit fiddly, so I just decided to build it all and just have it there. The other thing that's also in the office, which you will notice, is I've put a pattern on the roof. Again, I did that without recording it because I wanted a section in this build to have a sort of patterned roof like the office does, and I used a lot of the resizable squares to do that, and it was a little bit fiddly because I kept getting the sizes wrong, and then the like squares kept looking all different and stuff like that. So that was just like a little bit annoying, but I managed to figure that out, and I really wanted an area of the build to have something like that, and I thought that the office was fit quite well with it. So yeah. The other stuff that is in the office is just a bunch of like little decorative bits. The desk is actually really nice. I think it's one of the best sort of custom built desks I've made. But in the office, I decided as well to go with the sort of like concrete raw look, and it's got really big windows in it using the shoji doors and stuff like that. I have a window on one side, and then so like behind the desk I have 2 opening doors. It would not be advised for you to step out of those doors, or we'll call them windows. It wouldn't be advised to like step out because you would just like land in the pond. But I thought that it was just like really nice to get like a lot of airflow, and just it's really beautiful to like look out behind the desk. So I thought that it was nice to have it be so like open, so you can open it if you want to open it or not. But yeah, the office has a drawing tablet in it, along with a computer and some other little decorative bits. So the other thing that I wanted to do with the office is I didn't want like just one light in the office, and I didn't want it to be like sort of smack bang in the middle of like the room on the ceiling or anything like that. So the office is actually made up of 3 different lights. One is hanging from the ceiling over in the corner. There's a desk lamp, and then there's also a floor lamp. And I really like how it turns out because it's really, I don't know, it feels like super cozy to me. So the lights, I made them all quite warm as well, and I really like how it turns out pretty much. I just think that it's like super cozy, especially in the evening time with like the warm lights and stuff. I just feel like it would be a really cool place to hang out. The other things that are in the office is just like some decorative pieces. So we've got some books. I put down a little tray, and the tray has on it some food and like a drink and stuff like that. And then we have the little figures that also come out with the Sakura DLC. We've got the Torii Gate, and then we've also got the Game Boy. And I made a couple of different coloured Game Boys, and I put them up on display so like they have a nice variety of them. So the ones that I made is a green one. You have like the traditional one, which is like how you pick it up when you find it in the game. There's a red one, and then I also made a yellow and blue one, sort of like resembling the Pikachu, like a Pokemon specific one that come out. And I'm really happy with how the office turns out. I think it's a really nice place. There's some posters, and we've got the kimono and stuff. There's a little bit like gaming stuff, like a controller. We've got some headphones, a VR set, there's a radio and everything like that. And then there's also a little framed photo that I made with the different postcards that come out with the Sakura DLC. I think they look really beautiful, so I thought that it would be nice to frame them. It's not the first time I've done something like that. I've done something similar in a previous build, but those ones I just thought was so pretty. So I just got a photo frame and I pushed it into the wall just so the image is just missing, so that it's kind of like just the glass, and then I move the postcards into place so it looks like they're framed in a photo frame. And the office is also like pretty simple overall. like when it's done, but I really like how it turns out. There's little pops of color, and obviously it's got more of the modern tech in it, like the computer and everything like that. And then once I'm done with the office, I do try to add some storage and stuff to the sort of like hallway or like walkway between the kitchen and the office, but I just felt like it maybe looked a little bit too cluttered and it didn't really go too much with the theme, so I just ended up putting a painting there or like a poster or whatnot, and then I go on to do the extension, which is sort of like a tea room area, so like pretty self-explanatory, I guess. It's just a little tea room. I did try again to try and put the tatami mats in here, but again it just was not working. I don't know, I just got really lucky with that first room, like just really lucky with that first room that they fit almost like flawlessly and I didn't have to change anything. I don't know if I was just doing something wrong, but they wouldn't fit in here either, which was a shame, but I just ended up putting down sort of like a carpet texture on the floor and then making a sort of like little tea section, obviously another like little tea set and some chairs and stuff. That room ends up just being, again, it's pretty simple, but it's simple but effective, I think. And then it's surrounded by windows and we've got the doors that lead into the kitchen, but there's actually no sort of like door to lead you out into the garden area for that room. I just kind of left it as a hole, but I do put some of the, I'm not sure what they're called, but the sort of like things that hang from the ceiling, so like you can walk through them to go outside, so it gives you a little bit of a break, but there's actually no like real door on that area to lead you outside to the garden. So in the tea room, I knew I wanted a bonsai tree in there, definitely, so I managed to do that, which I was really happy about. And then also I really wanted the sort of like samurai sword set to be somewhere. I was hoping that I could fit it into the tea room, but I don't end up actually putting it in the tea room. I find some room for it in the living room, and then the tea room just has some more plants, mainly the like main section of obviously the tea room is just the table, the tea set, the seats, and some like little plants and stuff. There are some lights and stuff that I also put in there as well. But yeah, another like a little simple room, but I'm really as well happy with how that turned out. I've done a sort of like similar thing like this build in another build before. I built a Korean house. I'll link it below if anyone's interested in checking it out, but that one had a separate tea room, like a complete separate building. So I know I've done something like this like way before the Sakura DLC come out. That was even before the Scooby-Doo DLC come out, and yeah, I really liked how that turned out, so I took inspo from that build that I did and put it in this one, knowing that I wanted this one to obviously be like Japanese themed, and I also wanted it to have a sort of like tea room, so that's what that area was. And that also like overhangs into the pond in the sort of like back garden, and it wraps around to the side, and yeah, just overall really happy with it. So then once I'm done with the tea room, I go on to finishing the garden. Now the garden took me a really long time, so the majority of it is actually sort of already done. I just go in and add a few little bits here and there. It was taking me a really long time because there was so many rocks and stuff that I was using the fishing tool with manually to put around the edge of the stepping stones to sort of like cover up the edge and make it look a little bit more natural, and it was just really taking me such a long time, so I didn't put in a lot of that. But I do go in and I use one of the new plants. It's like the piles of like cherry blossoms on the floor, and I dot those around as if like, you know, the leaves or the flowers are falling from the trees and they're just like landing in the pond or just on the ground and stuff like that. And then I go in and I add a lot more bushes and everything. But yeah, the majority of the garden I do off camera because it was taking me such a long time. It was taking me a really long time to finish it, but overall, just like this whole build, I'm so happy with how it turned out. And I don't know, I think it's honestly one of my favorite builds to date. Definitely in my top 5. I think I love it so much, and I'm just so pleased with how it come out, and especially for being like the first one. And yeah, I'm really excited to share it with you guys, so I hope you enjoy it. And then of course, once we are done with the garden, I will take you guys on a full tour. There is a little section outside of the house that I did completely off camera. Obviously, I really do wish that we could walk sort of like outside of the property, but not obviously build outside the property. Hopefully that makes sense. So I could have walked on the sort of like road outside the house, like up to the house and stuff, but unfortunately we can't do that. But yeah, there's a whole section outside of the house that I also made a place to like store, or keep the car and the bins and stuff like that. And then we have I've used the new gates as the entrance to the building, and the entrance to the whole plot is like a circle from the outside, but from the inside you see the doors. Hopefully that makes sense. You guys will see it in the tour, but yeah, just overall I'm so happy with how this build turned out, and I am absolutely in love with it, and I really do hope that you guys enjoyed it. I had so much fun building it, and actually like finally getting into like decorating it. I was so happy to finally get on with it and do that. And yeah, just so happy with how it turns out. I feel like it's perfect for me. I would absolutely love to like live here, and I just think it's a really beautiful build, and I just love the lighting and just everything like that. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. The new zone is honestly like perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better zone to put this house in either. It just looks so nice, and then so many of the new items just are like, they're just perfect. I really like them. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I think I'll leave the chatting here for now. I hope that you enjoy the rest of it. As always, there will be timestamps if you would like to skip around or anything like that. Feel free. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, checking out this video. I really do appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Leave comments, let me know what you think about it. Leave a like, subscribe if you have not already and you would like to. I do, as I said, in the next build will actually be a build that was finished before the Sakura DLC come out, but it will have some little Sakura DLC items, because I went back in and just added a few before I like did the tour and stuff, but pretty much the whole of that build was completely finished before the DLC had come out. But I didn't want to rush putting that one out and then do like the showcase and then do the jobs and then do this one and stuff like that. I didn't want to rush it, so unfortunately that one is that one was like pretty much finished before this come out. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I really hope that you like this build. Let me know what you think of the Sakura DLC. Let me know what you think of this build. Are you enjoying it? Do you like the new items? Do you like the new zone? If you've built anything, let me know what you've built. I would love to know. I do have some more like themed builds coming that are themed around obviously the Sakura DLC and this map specifically and everything like that. I do actually have a build that I built the shell for again when it was announced. I went through and I think I've got 5. I think I've got 5 shells that I roughly mocked up like before the DLC come out, and this was obviously the first one, and then the next one is actually kind of similar to one of the jobs that we had to do. I won't give away too much, but it is kind of similar to one of those, or it's similar to one of the buildings you can buy after doing the jobs, if that makes sense. Again, I won't give away too much, but that one I'm in the process of at the moment, so you'll see that one at some point. And yeah, I can't wait to share all of the new builds and everything with you guys. But thank you guys so much for being here. I really do appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time to check out this video. As I said, timestamps there. Leave a like, subscribe if you have not already. Check out some of my other videos if you would like to, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye.